Good day. This is your instructor, Susan Miller, and I'm going to talk with you for a short time about moral development. This is a smaller unit than other units we will cover, but I think it's important that you are familiar a little bit with theories of moral development. Two pictures on the screen are of Jean Piaget and Lawrence Kohlberg, two of the theorists that we'll talk about in this unit. You're familiar with Piaget. He looked at differences in reasoning and the development of reasoning through childhood into adulthood. He looked at reasoning, how children reason about a lot of things, including moral issues. So this is not about moral behavior. This is more it's actually just about moral decision-making and moral judgments. He suggested that there were two major camps of reasoning about moral issues. Younger children tended to reason in terms of rules and laws that they saw external to themselves, handed down by somebody else. Parents, teachers, somebody out there made these rules. Rules were absolute. They needed to be followed absolutely. It's called heteronomous. Not heteronomous meaning, hetero meaning other, nomos meaning laws. Other laws coming from others. As children began to develop and reason more abstractly, not just logically, but also abstractly, they became more autonomous in their reasoning. That means self-laws. Laws about morality were more relativistic. They began to see that laws were made, that rules were made and were created to help people work cooperatively in groups. And it became comfortable for them to understand that and to be able to engage in changing rules. So sometimes you'll see older children being able to change the rules of a game. As long as everybody agreed to the new rules, it's just fine with them if the rules are changed. There's a story about a snowball fight that Piaget told. And in watching the snowball fight, there were young teenagers engaged in a snowball fight. He observed that a lot of their playtime was involved setting up the rules. What were the punishments for violating the rules? Well, I couldn't find a video of young children doing this, but I did find some University of Pittsburgh college students doing just this. And so we'll take a minute to look at this. And I can't get rid of this ad right away. So here we go.
Barrage, Gene's gonna go over the basic rules barrage. Good. Yeah, kind of like caption the flag, but snowball fight. Anyone can attack down at any time if they're hit by a snowball. If you're hit by a snowball, you have to freeze. What that means is you can't move, and you have to put your hands on your hips. Now, the goal of the game is to capture your opponent's command flag. Now, what capture means is get possession of it and bring it to your base. Now, in order to claim a base so that you can bring back your opponent's command flag, you've got to plant one of these smaller flags. Now, the opposition can take over your base if there's no one that's not frozen inside of it. So as long as there's someone holding the flag or someone defending the base, the opposition can't run in and take the flag. They can't run in and put a new flag down. And if you're running with your command flag and you're hit, running with any flag for that matter, you're now...
Well, I do want to share with, we're not going to watch the whole thing, and if you want to see it, you can go back and look at it. Eventually, they actually do engage in a snowball fight. But this shows the adult process of developing and agreeing to rules of a game. Subsequent to Piaget's initial work on moral reasoning is the work by Lawrence Kohlberg. He taught at the University of Chicago. He taught at Harvard. He's very well known for his work on moral development. He again also focused on reasoning, not on behaviors. Behaviors is another story. We're just looking at reasoning. And I want to point out that in all of these theories that we're talking about today, there's an assumption that we're talking about morality as a sense of justice and fairness. There are other domains that we could use to base our theory on. For example, we could decide to base our theory of justice, our theory of morality on care and responsibility. This is actually what Carol Gilligan did. She was a co-worker of Kohlberg's, but she later developed a different theory based on what she characterized as more feminine assumptions that care and responsibility. Also, as did Piaget, Kohlberg developed a theory that was a stage theory, but it wasn't exactly a stage theory. People didn't exactly fall only in one stage. I'm going to point that out. People usually, the way that we judge the level of a stage a person is in is by how they solve dilemmas, and it's not that precise. It's close, but not precise. And let's take a look at the different levels and stages. You see here that there are 3 levels. I always suggest again that you look at the name that is given by the theorist to whatever concept. And these use the word conventions. Conventions are like rules or norms. So we have a pre-conventional morality. These are young individuals who do not yet have the ability to follow rules, follow conventions. They're pre-conventional. Conventional morality, the child is old enough or the adult is old enough to understand norms. There are social norms or societal norms, and they understand what that means. And post-conventional morality are those individuals who are going to reason what we'll call beyond social conventions. Let's take a look at these in more depth. Stage 1 is obedience and punishment. The reasoning here is pretty much the title of the stage. We think about something in a certain way because people say we should do this and we don't want to be punished. These are the young children, for example, who see morality as an external force and they need to follow the rules because that's what they're supposed to do and they don't want to be punished. A slightly more sophisticated but still very rudimentary reasoning is that that is the stage where young people recognize there might be different points of view, but they still want to avoid punishment, and they're going to try to do that by kind of doing a tit for tat. I'll scratch your back if you scratched mine. It's a fair exchange. If we do it this way for me one time, then next time we'll do it that way for you. Some kind of deal making is going on at this stage. This is followed by the conventional stage. Again, we're talking about norms. In this case, norms between individuals, interpersonal norms. You might think of this as coinciding with concrete operational or even later formal operational reasoning. The idea that we should behave in good ways. It's our responsibility to do this. Sometimes you may see this written as good boy, nice girl stage. That gives a good flavor of what the reasoning is based on. I'm going to do something because I want to be a good daughter or a good wife. The next stage is again still norms, but now it's norms of the social order, not interpersonal norms. So we are going to obey the laws of the land because it's our duty to do so as a good citizen. I'm not going to speed through the intersection because good citizens don't do that. Of course, we all know to be careful in intersections because everybody does not reason at this level. So be careful out there. And finally, at level 3, we have reasoning that extends beyond the conventional level. Here we're talking about the awareness that there are values beyond that of society that may not be represented or captured well, that laws may lag behind the right thing to do. So people here would be reasoning and saying to themselves, what are the laws that we should follow? What are the values that I have? Is what I value being captured by the rules of society? Or are people being hurt? And I think it's more important to take care of that rather than follow the individual rules of society. Stage 6, universal principles. As a matter of fact, the United Nations has a document called the Universal Bill of Rights, and I'll post that on the website. It's the notion that everybody has the individual right to liberty and happiness, and civil disobedience in this case is warranted if the cause is just. Now, this is slightly different than stage 5, where they may recognize that the cause is just, but not to the degree to which civil disobedience is warranted. At stage 5, you would find the individual trying to work to change the laws so that the laws do protect individual rights.